caterhamracer.com Season 8 Championship is sponsored by Just Add Lightness, first for Caterham LED lights and in-car communication. By Design into Space Structures, immerse yourself in worlds beyond with bespoke projection screens. And by DPR Motorsport, your competitive advantage. And by one-to-one on-track coaching and simulator training with Ryan Hooker, with additional support from Darren Burke, Performance Driver Coach, and FPZero Simulators. So here we are again, Season 8 of caterhamracer.com, already one round of racing in the books, and after the action-packed battles that we had last time out at Brands Hatch to begin the season, we now move to the long straights and the sweeping corners of Snetterton's 300 circuit in Norfolk. It's located about 20 kilometres away from Thetford, about 30 kilometres away southwest of Norwich, and it is one of those circuits which has been developed a little bit in the last decade and a half, but has got room from just a couple of straights with a couple of tighter corners at each end to something that's a bit more technical, a bit more tricky, and certainly a proper test of handling and of driver skill. So round 2 here with the Caterham 310R cars in use this evening, and as qualifying is in full flow, we've got 10.5 minutes to go. It's Scott Woodwiss here and Chris Hutchinson in the commentary booth. And first of all, I have to mention, for those who didn't know, Chris made his solo real-world commentary debut a few weeks ago at the real Caterham Motorsport season opener at Brands Hatch for their live stream. So first of all, from one commentator to another, I have to say publicly on the stream here, a really good job, well done for a first solo. Well, I know for the first couple of races you were getting a bit up to speed, but once you did, I think you sounded just as natural as anyone else in the box. So first of all, congratulations on a solid debut for the Caterham Motorsport live stream.
Well, thank you very much, Scott, and good evening, everybody. Yes, it was a very enjoyable experience. Like you say, a bit stressful to start with, but we got there in the end. And yes, we are here now back on the virtual world, ahead of, not too long before the next actually official race weekend. So in a couple of, well, not next weekend, the weekend after, we will be at Snetterton for real. But yep, we've got the tight, twisty, technical and open long straights and flowing corners of Snetterton. It's a real technical challenge for all the drivers, and there's plenty of corners and all sorts of different corners going on, as we see Ryan Hooker there just going through Hamilton. But yeah, really good to be out on comms for real, and it's nice to be back here with you, Scott, on the virtual.
Likewise, for sure. And of course, looking at the schedule that we have, just for those reminding who might be watching for the first time, the schedule essentially it mimics the real-world Caterham Motorsport schedule, where they go to just about exactly the same schedule of races, but it's usually 1 week before the actual real-life racing. So we had Brands Hatch just on the 29th of March. That was the week before, Tuesday the week before the real-world racing. And then we went into Snetterton here this weekend, where next weekend on the 21st and 22nd they'll be out in action. Then the next few rounds after that, we switched to the Caterham 420R race car, which sees the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit in use. Then it'll be Donington Park National back in the Academy car, and the whole process of going through the order of cars goes through again. So Academy for Donington, Anglesey for the 310R, Not Kill for the 420R. That's going to be a really, really special meeting. And then we get a driver vote as they get to choose which of the 3 cars they prefer to drive at the season finale at Spa-Francorchamps. And then a week later there'll be a super finale for that weekend, where we'll have about half of the Caterham Motorsport roster racing over at Spa-Francorchamps for real, while the rest will be on the Silverstone International Circuit to round off their season, and that'll be around the weekend of about the 15th and 16th of October. Going into this weekend, as we see qualifying happening with about 8 minutes to go, we should give you a reminder of where they are points-wise. Christian Szaruta, who's currently on provisional pole, about quarter of a second up on David Rowe. He took the perfect score of 50 points for both races at Brands Hatch. He leads with the maximum score of 100. He is 4 points ahead of Jensen Hassler, who is currently sat 7th fastest in this session. And he's second in points, 4 points back on 96. Steve Arnell, who is not here tonight, sits in third. He will drop down the order after tonight's event. Richard Gallagher is here though, but he's sat currently in 10th fastest. He's 4th in points with 92, but he will move up. Andrew Parker won't though, he's also added tonight. 6th is James Peter after a very impressive first meeting in these in the Academy car, and now moving to 310Rs with a slightly different beast, currently sat in 13th fastest. David Rowe had one of those weekends where it could have gone a lot better, but didn't really go his way so much. Now he had to be sufficed with 7th, 15 points off the lead already. Then Ben Maskell, 8th fastest, ahead of John Lang and Freddie Chiddicks. And neither John Lang or Freddie Chiddicks, well, John Lang is here, but Freddie Chiddicks is not, sadly. So 18 cars for tonight. Couple of drivers who make it either their first or a long-awaited reappearance of the Group A grid. But even so, looking at that first round, Chris, it was pretty much Christian who took both victories, but the results will say that he won both races. But we know at least, particularly in one of those races, it was not as simple as just him winning that race. He got put under pressure quite a lot during both of those races, and he had to really get his elbows out and use all of his guile and his tactics in order to be able to hold on that much.
That's right. We saw him run away a little bit with the first race because James Peter-Zenes up in second place did a fantastic defensive job and held up a queue of cars behind him, including David Rowe, who got so frustrated by it that he kept on tapping the rear of Jamie until he eventually spun it. So David Rowe cost himself quite a lot of points there, and Jamie did a fantastic effort to sort of maintain under that pressure. And then in the second race, Jensen Hassler definitely had a sort of a reset, and he absolutely flew along, and he was right on the tail of Christian all the way to the very last lap, isn't it? A very great race. If you haven't watched it already, it's all available on our YouTube channels. You just go and find or search for caterhamracer.com, and you will find all our previous races that we've run.
Yeah, definitely one to watch out. Of course, all the races, all the live stream replays end up on the caterhamracer.com YouTube channel. You might be watching on the YouTube channel, or you might be watching on the Facebook feed. Either way, great to have you with us. And of course, if you are watching back, thank you for watching back and watching the stream as it is. So 5.5 minutes to go in qualifying then. David Rowe has just taken pole position with a time of 2 minutes 7:3.16, and he is just about under a tenth of a second ahead of Christian Szaruta. The big surprise for me is the man in third place, Ian Joyner, who goes into the weekend 14th in points. He's in a three-way tie for 13th place, arguably, with Chris Skinnercorn and Mike Hilton. But an impressive effort to, one, get into the top split, but also not only that, to also get himself a really strong result in qualifying so far. Yes, he's almost about 8 3/4 tenths off the top two in terms of the pace he needs to find. But to be up there that quickly in the second weekend, at least I think we've seen him at the top of the split, really impressive stuff for me, and a really strong enhancement in his pace, whether that's simply because he enjoys the circuit, or enjoys the car, or enjoys this particular combination. Really working well for him so far, and holding on to a strong position on the second row of the grid, which is under 5 minutes to go and qualify. A
radio-controlled racer in real life, I believe, as well as he uses iRacing quite a lot, but he's never actually raced a real car, so like you say, very good to see him up there. I think we might see some people slotting into that gap there that's ahead of him. It looks like people have just, maybe submitted to track limits or have lost a couple of times. We've certainly got people a little bit further back, including Richard Gallagher and Richard Harwood, which we might expect to see a little bit higher up, so they'll be looking to get better laps in. They were all in a queue before, and I'm wondering whether they've now decided it's going to be more beneficial for them to be separate from each other and give themselves a nice clear lap.
Certainly seems to be giving us plenty of a wide berth on track at the moment. Ian has lowered his lap time by about a tenth and a half, and as you say that, John Lang has popped into that gap now, and he has managed to put a 2 minutes 7.9, which puts him only about roughly half a tenth ahead, or 3/4 of a tenth of a second ahead of Ian Joyner at this point. So John John Lang was certainly listening to whatever you were saying, Chris. He must have been tuned in on the comms or on the radio somewhere. Look at some of the drivers who should be a little bit higher up than I expected. I think Richard Gallagher's one of them. He's down in 11th place at the moment, 1.6 seconds off, as we see Ryan Hookett here, who's one of our fantastic sponsors that we have, of course, 1-to-1, as he provides quite a bit of coaching and helps drivers both in the sim and in the real car get quicker with the aid of a sim, both at race events or at his own place of work, and doing quite a decent job so far in 8th position. A couple of drivers that are making a return: Paul Donkin, who's back in there, former Honda racer who then turned Caterham 420R racer. He's back on the grid in an A grid in 9th place. There he is. Good to have him back as well. Another driver who I think we didn't see in the first round, if we did, is the first time we're seeing him here, is Keith Dalton. Keith Dalton, for those who follow club racing, will know that he is started to become a bit of a regular in BRCC Mazda MX-5 circles, as we go on board with the bright green Caterham of Keith. He mainly runs in the MX-5 Clubman Championship for Mark 1 MX-5 generation cars. And he's into something that's roughly similar to these cars. They're quite small, they're quite lightweight, they've got quite skinny tyres, and they're quite good for the car controlling way. At the moment, currently sat in 15th fastest, 2.3 seconds off the lead. But for any newcomer coming into this series, and we've seen this several times in the past ever since we started, Chris, there are some drivers who adapt to these cars in the sim because either they drive sims all the time or they might drive Caterhams all the time, so they know kind of roughly what these cars feel like to drive on the limit. Some of these drivers either take a while to get going, some of them match them straight away. Every driver has a different learning curve with this sim, this championship, and these cars. So while he might be down in 15th place, it might take him the rest of the meeting, it might take another couple before he starts to find a bit more pace, if he does start to find more pace, and we might start to see him a bit more regularly in the midfield, and somewhere towards the top 10, if his pace starts to go in that direction.
Yeah, each of the cars has a slightly different dynamic driving style, and the 310 is actually quite tricky to control the rear end of this car. You'll see a lot of people on power will have the rear end step out, and often that's just different driving styles appreciate different things. A lot of the drivers don't get on with the Academy car, but others do. It's just one of those things, and this time out we are in that 310R, and so other people you might expect to see at the front, but we always see Christian here in his white machine going around. He's only 8/100ths now off of a pole position, David Rowe there. Christian has sworn blind that you can do a 206 is possible, but certainly anything in the low 207s is a great lap. So himself and David Rowe showing a good clean pair of heels. Other people have been plenty down in that region, but haven't managed to put a lap together just yet. And we've only got a minute left of quali, so not too long for them to put that lap together. And Ryan Hooker, we were looking at earlier, he's been fighting right at the front of all these grids, so it's a bit surprising to see him low down. I know he's been scooting all over the countryside doing his instruction, and maybe he's just not had the time to put in as many laps as he might want to do as we watch Christian just going off. So let's focus in on someone else. There's Mitchell Costas, and another sort of front runner. We expect to see him up and around about that top grid, but every week it gets harder on the virtual race to make an impression, just such as the standard.
Yeah, we have talked about several times how the competition level in this paddock and in this championship has just kept on rising and rising ever since the first one, which we ran right towards the beginning of lockdown in 2020. And it's fascinating to see how the grids and the competitiveness have been able to keep on developing and keep on getting stronger. And we've watched drivers, particularly like Paul Fernhoff, but others who've come through, like Chris Skillicorn, Richard Gallagher, again in John Lang, and others who have managed to make their way up in the last couple of seasons and just find their pace and slowly keep on developing and get used to the cars, first with the Academy car, then with the 420R machine, now this new 310R spec model that we have as well. So it's becoming quite a fascinating watch to see these drivers slowly make their way from somewhere maybe around mid to lower in the pack to kind of get to midfield and then start to creep their way up towards the front of the pack. It's quite enjoyable to see some of them develop as much as they have. Checkered flag has gone out on the session. No change in the top five, so to speak. John Lang comes in and reports his final lap, so he's coming in, as is also Chris Skillicorn and Mitchell Costas. Ryan Hooker goes on to finish his lap. He's currently sat in 9th fastest. Can he improve at all? Yes, he can. He goes to 7th fastest, and he has now put himself in terms of gap to the pole time just a smidgen under 9/10 of a second off. So it seems as though we have just about a breakaway top two, the usual double DPR domination at the front with David Rowe and Christian Szaruta. But everyone else are about third place backwards, very closely matched together. If we look at the gap between them, John Lang down to about Paul Donkey and Richard Harwood, that's roughly been about, well, it's third down tonight, it's covered by about 6/10 of a second or so. So that's going to be quite a frantic battle, I'm sure, for the final podium spot. But I anticipate, if they're allowed to get away quickly from the line, if they get a good start and pull away early doors, I anticipate looking at that fourth and qualifying, Chris, it might well be a battle of Rowe versus Szaruta in front, unless anyone can prove they've got better race pace than they do over a single lap.
probably the most spread out we've seen, the front of the field at least, and there are definitely gaps there. Plenty more people getting into the 207s in pre-qualification though, so the people out there with speed who just haven't managed to show it tonight. Wonder whether Richard's going to get over the line with this, one of his final attempts as he goes over the curb around Murray's, and he'll be looking to see whether he can put it up higher, but he was one of the last across the line, I guess, before it ticked to 0, so he is going to be able to finish this. Let's see where this puts him. It does put him up into 4th place just as the screen faded there. So a good effort there to move himself up just on that last second.
Excellent final effort to put him up in there. And he was only half a tenth away from John Lang. So as the checker flag fell on the session and the last couple of cars took the flag, this is how they're set to line up for the first of 2 15-minute races here tonight. So it's an all DPR front row once again. Team boss David Rowe alongside Christian Szaruta. Of course, ever the cunning Christian Szaruta. And it's John Lang and Richard Gallagher with that magnificent final effort in the last lap of the session that gets him 4th fastest, only half a tenth behind John. And Ian Joyner, very impressive, one of his personal best results in qualifying. That puts him 5th on the grid alongside Chris Skillicorn in 6th. Then Ryan Hooker is up there in 7th place alongside the man who was hassling Christian Szaruta all the way through, no pun intended. Jensen Hassler in 8th. Then Dutchman Mitchell Costas in 9th, and Paul Donkin on his return will round out the top 10 for the first of 2 races here tonight. There's Richard Harwood starting 11th alongside Paul Fernhoff, slightly off the pace in 12th. Likewise to Jamie Peters-Ennis, not really gelling with the 310R as much as he did the Academy car brands. He starts on row 7 on the 13th place of the grid alongside Alan Curtis. Then Keith Dalton, Matt Shepherd, who's a former front runner and Matt race winner in Caterham in real life. A welcome return to him, starting 16th. Then Adam Whitehouse and Anthony Hambleton rounds out the 18 car grid that we have for Lobby A tonight. Of course, there is typically a Lobby B, so I'm sure anyone racing Lobby B will be doing so very shortly, and if they are already, best of luck to everyone who is in that split, and hopefully we might see some of you guys possibly on the A grid if they're able to pre-qualify fast enough to get themselves onto the top rank next time out when we race at Silverstone. So the grid's starting to form up already, as it does. Everyone hits the button to transport themselves onto the grid, and then as they start to form up in formation, they're not far away, but they're pretty promptly, in fact, actually, so that everyone not hanging around too much will get themselves into the grid spots. Looking at the qualifying pace then, Chris, we did talk about it briefly, I suppose, but DPR looks as though over a single lap at least they've got the runaway pace. If they can translate that into race pace like they generally tend to do at the 2 cars at the front, are you anticipating this to be mainly the David and Christian show, or is there anyone else in the next couple of rows possibly going to try and spoil their party if they can get a good start and get themselves amongst it in the first couple of laps and frustrate them enough to either see them cause mistakes or possibly get into each other? What do you think?
They spent most of practice tonight sort of running nose to tail as close as you like, so I actually do think they might well run away with this. They've got a little few tenths advantage over the following drivers, and I'm sure John Lang and Richard Gallagher will try and keep a hold of the drive, their coattails, but I equally, yeah, I don't see. I think the gap will develop, and that's what I think we'll see, and then it will be a battle for who's going to get that 3rd place. But equally, we've seen collisions between David and Christian before, and that's potentially definitely going to happen, I think.
We'll wait and see. Of course, we know how formidable both David Rowe and Christian Szaruta are, but also when he's on form, Richard Gallagher is quite a driver to watch out for, and also John Lang's had his moments as well, but also watch for Chris Skillicorn and Ian Joyner on that 3rd row of the grid, and other drivers in the background like Jamie Peters-Ennis and maybe Matt Shepherd towards the back. If they can find some good race pace, they can pick their way through. First of 2 15-minute races here tonight for round 2 of Season 8 of caterhamracer.com. It's an all DPR front row. Will they both run away, or will the cars behind them possibly try and stop them in the opening laps and make it more difficult? Lights up for first race 1 here at Snetterton for 15 minutes. They go out. We are underway here at Snetterton. Nice clean start from everyone so far. Decent jump away from the line. Everyone streaks away cleanly, and already it's from the outside from pole position. David Rowe who will sweep into turn 1. And as I said, it was a good start for the second row. The grid's starting to frustrate Christian Szaruta already. It's John Lang who's gone round the outside of Richard Gallagher and already putting the pressure onto Szaruta as they head out of Richie's corner down towards the Wilson hairpin. They're 2-3 abreast under brakes. They turn in through the right-hander, but it's Rowe who leads. Szaruta to the 2nd place. A strong start for Chris Skillicorn. He's now alongside Richard Gallagher as they come up towards Palmer. That's very tricky off-camber left-hander as they come all the way through towards this short straight towards the Agostini hairpin for the first time. And everyone so far in this first lap, and I say it rather tentatively, appears to have got through just about trouble-free. I think everyone's where they roughly were where they should be at the start of this race. A little bit of move up the inside from Ian Joyner there, trying to move past Chris Skillicorn, but that's now put him on the back foot alongside Richard Gallagher. So, as we expected, Chris, it is David and Christian in front. John Lang up to third place impressively. Good starts from both Chris Gillicorn and Ian Joyner. Richard Gallagher's the big loser out of that. When he started fourth, down to about fifth or sixth, he possibly losing even more places in the next couple of laps if he's not careful.
Yeah, lots of side-by-side action already in these early stages and still going on side-by-side back. Just like you said, Chris Gillicorn there up to fourth place. He made a very strong start from about 6 on the grid, and you can see it's all nose to tail as we head off down the pits, and there's looks like it's Ian Joyner has dropped back a little bit up from his sort of high starting as well. Hasler's now got just ahead of Gallagher as the run down there. Hasler making a good start in the purple car up the inside of Nelson, but Brundles, but Gallagher's got him back into a Nelson as they exit now towards the bum hole.
And that was quite a smart move from Gallagher to get straight back onto the racing line and prevent any kind of retaliation from Hasler, because he knew that Hasler was going to try and get the cut back if he could, exiting Nelson up towards the bomb hole, but he couldn't quite manage that. And now let's put Ian Joyner onto his roll cage. As they come up to the end of lap 1, it's the DPR duo heading out of Murray's onto the centre straight for the first time. And it will be David Rowe who leads the first lap of the evening under racing conditions. Rowe leads it then, about a second ahead now, pushing his route already as they come across the line. John Lang is third off. He started on the front, the third row, second row of the grid. Chris Gillicorn's up to fourth, and now a possible change on for fifth as here comes Jensen Hassan, the man who was in a podium last time out side by side. Also Ian Joyner behind them is going wheel to wheel with Ryan Hooker, and Ryan goes up the inside. Joyner tries to defend around the outside and hold the position. So they come back through. Hooker's got the move done, but it's not quite finished yet for the cars ahead of him. Because round the outside looks Hasler. Gallagher parks the car right on the apex. They get back on the power again, and Hasler this time can put himself alongside for the inside line, which will give him the right track position. He needs to turn left into Wilson hairpin, but you can hold him on the outside line, but if it is slightly off camber on exit, it might not be so favourable. And Gallagher does have enough momentum. He stays in third, so for the time being, Chris, Hasler's pushing. He's going to try again towards Agostini, but Gallagher putting up a pretty stringent defence, whilst cars behind start to catch up.
Absolutely, a 2x2 round that whole sequence for Gallagher's lost it to the inside there, so he lost the rear end of the car just coming out of the Agostini hairpin, and that has now given Hasler the free rein into fifth place, so the pressure sort of paid off in the end, and Gallagher's now dropped back 3 or 4 places. So Hasler making great moves in this race again, like we saw at Brands Hatch. And remember, we've got 2 races, and where you finish in this first one is where you start the second one. Ryan Hooker also making his way past Ian Joyner now, so his next victim will be Jensen Hasler, who we're looking at in this long train.
It was going to happen at some point, but the commentators did eventually strike, and so I was in the back of my mind thinking, if I keep talking about Richard Gallagher, is he going to go off? Moments later, he proved me right. So he's down to 10th position at the moment. I went for Brett from Jamie Peters-Ennis, who usually does this quite a lot. We see Ryan Hooker battling with Ian Joyner there, with also under his tail now Paul Donkin looking pretty strong in 8th position. But Jamie Peters-Ennis does this quite a lot. He starts a little bit further back in the pack, but starts quite quickly and makes up a couple of places in the opening few laps. As just behind in the background, we're seeing Matt Shepherd with a huge train of cars behind him. He's got Keith Dalton, Alan Curtis, you've got Andy Whitehouse, Anthony Hamilton and Richard Harwood all in the mix here. I think Anthony Hamilton has just dropped back a little bit in 18th position. There's lots of scrapping going on. And this is the great thing about this series as well. There's always someone to race with, typically in the A grid, so you've got someone mid-pack towards the front, or a case in point there. This huge gag of the car scrapping over the positions 13th down to 17th. So all of them all together having a fantastic battle. It's in the scrap for third going on here. This is John Lang being chased down by Chris Gillicorn. The top two have quite vehemently broken away. So David Rowe has a 1.1 second advantage over Christian Szaruta. And then it's a further 2.1 seconds back to John Lang, who himself now is having to look at his mirrors, because Chris Gillicorn is giving him a bit of a hurry up as they come up through the left-hander at Palmer for the third time. They're trying to chase after these top two, whilst also battling amongst themselves. Jensen Hasler, now that he's got clear from Richard Gallagher, and also with Ryan Hooker getting through and managed to clear the gap a little bit from the cars behind, they're starting to try and break away and to close in on these two, make it possibly a quartet battle over the final podium place.
We said it was probably going to be a battle for third place, didn't we? And Christian maybe just catching slightly back up with David Rowe there, the early part of this lap. We've got Spinner behind, that's Ian Joyner, I think. Spinning, unfortunately.
Again.
Is the Joyners we're watching on the screen, and he was caught up with Paul Fernhoff at the exit as well. It looks like maybe Gallagher, like you say, has also had an issue. He's right back at the back of the field, so a little bit of kerfuffle into Agostini that time. But yeah, we said it was going to be a battle for that third place, and it looks like that is coming true, with Chris Gillicorn now right up with John Lang, but Hasler is coming across the gap, and Ryan Hooker's right up behind him.
So, not go from bad to worse for Richard Gallagher, and Ian Joyner's also seen himself plummet down towards the bottom of the table now, with back in 18th place. He's got some work to do to try and close that one in. A little wide there for Chris Gillicorn. I think John Lang was also a little late in the brakes. There was also a bit of a lock-up, it looks like, or at least running wide from Christian Szaruta in second place. There's a bit of puff of smoke coming up, but even so, he is still 2.8 seconds to the good ahead of this duo battling over the final podium place. Now we see Rowe and Szaruta again, class the field so far in first and second. That's the purple and blue car, John Lang in third. Chris Gillicorn now under threat from a rather rapid Jensen Hassler. He's trying to bring Ryan Hooker with him. Well, Donkin in seventh place, Mitchell Costas is eighth. And again, it's that man, Jamie Peters, slowly working his way up through the order. It's a P9 now, so if he can maintain that and give himself a good starting spot for the second race. We've seen him do this several times before, Chris, where he just works his way up slowly but silently up the pack, keeps his nose out of trouble, and usually gets himself in quite a good position for the second race. He's quite a strong starter in the opening couple of laps. He can make up positions and pick his way through gaps that open up in these first opening few corners. So if he can get a good finishing spot in race one, I've got a possible hint he could maybe jump a couple of places up higher into the top five or so if he can get a good start in race two as well.
I think he'll admit himself he was quite surprised to be on the front row of the grid Brands Hatch last time out. Definitely, that was a definitely step up, and he's sort of kept that going in the racing we've done in between these last two championship events, and he's showing that he's got all that race knowledge that allows him to move forward in the race, and off he's up now into ninth place. Always, because as he said that, and he loses the rear end of the car. He has told me off stream that he much prefers the Academy car to the 310R, and you can see with the lively rear end it's got, it's actually a bit of a beast to handle, and he certainly prefers the Academy car, but he's doing a great job in the top 10 currently.
That's 2 for 2 now. Drivers have picked up and actually made a mistake, so get one more and I'll be on for the hat tricks, and we'll see who's suffers the commentator's curse in, I'm sure, in a short while, whether it's this race or the next one. Still 1.2 seconds out in front as we see the battle here. Jensen Hassler, who's managed to not only catch but have enough momentum to try and get through past Chris Gillicorn. Gillicorn fighting back down the back straight up towards Brandon Nelson, up under the bridge. And now that is Hassler who has forced Gillicorn to capitulate and let him through. So that's now up to fourth place. Goes the slightly lighter purple car of Jensen Hassler. Next target is the equally purple car of John Lang in third. Chris Gillicorn now down to fifth, and we'll be careful not to be under threat from Ryan Hooker too soon. Mitchell Costas, so Paul Donkin is there in seventh place. Mitchell Costas in eighth. Joey Peters Ennis is ninth. And Keith Dalton, who also started outside the top 10, really strong effort to pick his way through some of the melee in the early laps. He's up to 10th position in his first A-grid race. So for someone who's regularly raced MX-5s and also done a little bit of iRacing and stuff, I think, in the background, he's not doing too badly up in P10. And again, like Jamie in ninth position, if he stays where he is, a good strong starting spot for race two. Yeah, definitely.
It's great to see drivers making their way through. Obviously, we've seen some of the downsides where we've seen people spinning, and it's the racecraft that gets you through in these early parts of these races, working out where do I need to put my car to maximise my chances, where with the game theory of do I put it up the inside or outside, almost using 2 or 3 corners to make a pass stick. It's really difficult to get through in these Caterhams, and passing, as you see regularly, we go side by side.
Shepherd and Harwood are getting into it just behind Keith Dalton. I thought for a second there was going to be contact and I would go 3 for 3 in terms of commentators' curses, but thankfully they proved me wrong on that point and they managed to get through the first few corners at the moment without any issue. So this is now the 5 cars battling over 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. It's Lang from Hassler, from Skiddercorn, from Hooker, and then from Paul Donkin. Mitchell Costa's back in 8th, a couple of seconds back, and then we get the gap between Peters and Dalton. It's about 4 seconds between them. So looks as though at the moment that Jamie Peters Ennis is in a roughly comfortable area, sitting in 9th place at this point in time. And at the front, it's looked pretty static in the gaps. It's still still only gone up by about a tenth or so between the top 2 cars. David Rowe pacing himself nicely as we go into the final 5 minutes of this first 15-minute encounter here at Snetterton. Of course, weekend 2 or evening 2 of the season 8 of caterhamracer.com. Championship leader Christian Szaruta trailing his DPR team boss David Rowe, who didn't have the best of luck in the first weekend and found himself coming to the weekend about 7th or 18 points. So certainly beating Christian and taking points off other drivers who are not here this weekend and other drivers who are further back in the pack. Certainly be a big boost to get himself up the order once more as he comes out of the complex of Corwin and Murray. There's always a very tricky braking zone coming through there because you've got this long corner. Then, as you'll know in previous experience, Chris, that's a really tricky corner to get right, Corwin, because you have to really set the car up in such a way where you can brake in as straight a line as possible to get the car nicely squared up to turn through mode. Because if you have the car set up too much to be too loose on the rear, particularly under braking or off the throttle, it can make it a nightmare trying to get the car slowed down in such a stable enough state that gets it enough to turn enough for Murray's without making some kind of a mistake, running wide or possibly even spinning. It's not an easy corner to get right, is it?
You're going through a Coram at about over 80 miles an hour in these 310R cars, so and it goes on forever, and you've got to then try and knock all that speed off to go about sort of 50 odd miles an hour through Murray's. So you can see how it's tricky to keep the car turning at those kind of speeds, as well as then when it comes to the braking zone, get it slowed up and keep on the line. It's really easy to lose the rear end of the car, and you see that in real life as well as in the sim quite regularly, as we still seeing this battle for third place really developing as this race goes on. It was it was just a battle with two of them, but it's all closing up as we come to the last 3 odd minutes of this race. Out front, Christian's dropped back a little bit further. David Rowe showing incredible consistency, running in the DPR dedicated sim that they've got down at their workshops that they use for driver training out there. But John Lang has been sat in that third place for a long time now, but it looks like Jensen Hassler, who's moved forward from about 7th on the grid, I think, up into this 4th place and looking like he's threatening for that top 3 again.
And whilst you were talking that, I was looking at the timing tower. The commentator's cursor struck once again, because I was saying how well Keith Dalton was doing. Well, both he and Richard Harwood appear to have got together somehow, and they're both down the bottom of the timing tower, 17th and 18th place down at the back of the field. So, unfortunately, that's Keith Dalton's race, and his chance of a good result gone from race number 1. He has to start from towards the back of the grid, I'm sure, to try and make up for it in a few moments' time for race number 2. Meanwhile, the scrap for third that still goes on between the 2 purple cars in the mix, but it's the purple and blue car in front of John Lang against the all kind of more lavender coloured or kind of almost lilac coloured car of the 4th place man Jensen Hassler, second in the points coming into the weekend after he got 2 race run results at Brands Hatch. Tighter run through Murray's, it might slightly compromise his exit onto the car. He looks like he's almost just rotating the car on the throttle a bit through the corner. He's inside that magic half a second. We talk about in a set of course, particularly with these cars, the gap that you want to be to start getting a toe through the car in front is half a second or less. So if you get inside that, that's the magic distance you need. And John Lang, whether just he outbraked himself or just let open the door on purpose, I can't imagine it'd be the latter, has just let Jensen Hassler wander past him into Richie's corner. Now, that was either him outbraking himself, or was he even possibly anticipating to try and get a good run to get into the slipstream, to get past behind them. All sorts going on. Paul Donkey, I think, has done 2 for the price of 1 there. Up from 7th to 5th. And Chris Skillicorn also getting past Ryan Hooker. So while Ryan Hooker was in there trying to defend the position, Paul Donkey went steaming up the inside, up into P5, and Chris Skillicorn looks like he followed through for good measure. So not a good cover corners for Ryan Hooker. Fantastic for Paul. He's up into the top 5.
Great opportunistic driving. In real life, you might do some tactics where you do drop behind another car, knowing that the long straight will give you that toe. But in the sim, the toe is not as strong, so you definitely wouldn't have done that voluntarily. He just never made it into the apex of that. The pressure was he was maybe driving in his mirror just a little bit too much, but the pressure's told. And consistent Hassler has come up into 3rd place, and can he hold on for this last minute?
Yeah, the win and 2nd place is certainly, touch wood, asked the question for him at the moment, because he lives some 7 seconds up the road to try and get past him, so to try and hold on to that position. He has still got John Lang in close attention. They've both pulled a small gap over Paul Donkin and his 2 pursuers, Ryan Hooker and Chris Skillicorn, who both tried to chase him down up at Ritchie's and then through the Wilson hairpin. Here are our leaders. Now, it's going to be quite touch and go to see whether this is good with the final lap or not. It might well get possibly 1 more lap in, but only just if he times it just right. There's 20 seconds on the clock, so as they come through Coram up towards the left-hand flick through Murray's, 14 seconds on the clock, might just get to a line in time. 10 seconds to go. Checker flame might be being readied here. Cross the line he will come. 5, 4, 3, 2. Yes, just 1 more lap they're going to get in. 2 seconds to go. And Christian Szaruta now thinks, right, time to turn on the afterburners. Fastest lap of the race. About 2/10 quicker than David Rowe. He might have left it possibly too little too late, I think, because the gap is still 1.4 seconds. So it looks like that David Rowe's got this one under control. But then I've praised drivers for being well 3 times already tonight so far in race 1. And they've all hit strife moments later. So if I said that David Rowe's going to do quite well against the flag, it might not well come true. But we'll wait and see. Christian has got the gap down still 1.3, 1.4. It's this battle we've really got to focus on here so far. 3rd and 4th between Hassler and Lang. and then 5th, 6th and 7th with Donkin, Hooker and the Skillicorn trying to get the final podium spot and the final top 5 spot respectively. These 5 all together scrapping over positions with just one more tour of the 300 circuit left to go here in race 1.
They won't want to throw it off the circuit though, because wherever they finish this race they will start the next one, and currently they're going to be starting near the front of the grid at least, and if you throw it onto the grass at this point you could still drop all the way down through the field. Does look like Hasler's got that sort of settled though, hasn't he? John Lang's had to capitulate and drop back a little bit. Donkin with that opportunistic move, still ahead of Ryan Hooker, who has now moved ahead of Chris Skillicorn again, where he had dropped back. So still movement going on, but yeah, it's the risk-reward factor at the moment.
Certainly everyone not taking too many risks and trying to get the reward of finishing where they are. So I think it looks like, possibly, positions are going to stay static from where they are. Down the Bentley straight for the final time. There is David Rowe in the black and white car with the green roll bar. Turns his way through Brundle. Little lock up there from Christian Szaruta as he continues to keep on pushing. A little wide on the exit. He's gained about a couple of tenths back. He's only a second behind now, but I suspect that even when they get to the line, he might not be a little too far away to try and make any impact. But round through Cora for the final time comes David Rowe. And certainly he's not had the best luck in the first round. When he does get on form, when he does get out in front, and he does make a mistake for you race, he's pretty much untouchable. And Christian Szaruta tries as hard as he dares to get Cybers on the exit mode, but it's not going to be enough. But he shows that he was pushing as hard as he could. But first spoils of the evening at Snetterton as he weaves into light, and rightfully so. David Rowe wins race 1 of the evening here at Snetterton, ahead of Christian Szaruta in second place. It is a DPR domination, 1-2 at the front. And then quick as you like, third place for Jensen Hassler after he started a little bit deeper in the field. John Lang finishes 4th, and then 5th, 6th and 7th. It does change on the final lap. It's Ryan Hooker goes up to 5th position. It's then Donkin 6th, Christian Skillicorn 7th. It's then Mitchell Costas in 8th place, a rather lonely 9th place in the FJ and Peter Dennis, but he'll be happy with that to get into the top 10. And then Richard Gallagher, who rounds out the top 10. That's an impressive run for him after he had that spin early on to climb his way back into a top 10 finishing spot. Side by side, a photo finish for 11th. And it's just Matt Shepherd who beats Paul Fernhoff to the flag. It's Alan Curtis, and just like another photo finish. That's Harwood and Dalton. And Harwood just pipping the green caterer of Dalton to the flag as well. So 2 very close ones in the end, further back in the pack. Any enjoying what could have been for him as well. He was as high as 3rd on the grid, or on the 2nd row at least. Unfortunately, not the 3rd row he started. And then he was as high as about 5th position. And then sadly, he had made contact and dropped back down the order. So, results of race number 1, which of course determines the grid for race 2 coming up shortly. And it's David Rowe who leads lights to flag to take victory in race 1 at Snetterton, to take maximum points, 50 from that first encounter. He'll try and do the same for race number 2. Then it's Christian Szaruta finishing 2nd place. Jensen Hassler driving well to take 3rd. John Lang in 4th place from Ryan Hooker in 5th. Paul Donkin in 6th. And Chris Skillicorn, Mitchell Costas, Jamie Peters-Ennis and Richard Gallagher rounding out the top 10. That's where they will start for race 2 coming up very shortly. Matt Shepherd 11th and Paul Fernhoff 12th. It's then Richard Alan Curtis 13th, Richard Harwood 14th, Keith Dalton 15th, and it's Ian Joyner, Adam Whitehouse and Anthony Hamilton rounds out the 18 cars. All 18 cars started, all 18 seeing the flag once again after 15 minutes. So 1 or 2 eventful points on that one at this first race, Chris, but in the end, in that first race so far, it's all DPR's form at the moment. It's David Rowe looks to be on decent pace. Christian Szaruta just about his equal, but about a second back. You could see even on the last lap there, he was still continuing to push to the end, hoping for a mistake from David Rowe, but in the end, David, of course, making full use of the facilities and, of course, the car he had around him to take an excellent victory. And, of course, now his target will be to keep up the DPR winning streak, to make it 4 from 4, but this time make it a double for him, as it was for Christian in race 1.
Brilliant consistency, wasn't it, from Rowe? He didn't, as soon as he got off that line and had a little bit of a gap, Christian had to defend for a couple of corners, and that's all he needed there. Christian didn't clearly have the ultimate pace he needed to pull that gap back in, so really good consistency from Rowe. Like you say, once he was out front, that was danger signs in this second race. I'm pretty sure Christian will be looking to make sure he doesn't let him get away into that top corner this time through. But as we see them all lined up in that pit, so it looked like the battles at the back there, which we didn't really get to focus on too much because of the battling in for that 3rd place, looked equally as intense and the crossing the line, I think 2 by 2 in as close as you like. I'm going to look forward to see some of the gaps as we cross through, but equally Hassler from sort of deeper in the qualification field to make it up into that 3rd place again. That shows incredible consistency, and he's definitely putting forward a good championship charge.
Sometimes consistency is one of the things that you need. It's all well and good to be quite quick towards the front, but if you can't get the results together on a consistent basis in the podium positions or in the wins, on the days when you have off days, It's those consistent results that you need to try and rely on if things start to go wrong a bit more to keep you in the hunt. And it is one of those championships in some cases where if you make one small slip up, if you can't then back it up with more consistent results to get straight back on the horse and get yourself back towards the front and back to winning ways or scoring strong points again, it can come to bite you towards the end if you can't make it happen. So both David and Christian, but no, all too well, they have to keep on scoring highly. But so does Jensen as well, of course. And starting for third on the grid, he can get a good getaway and get himself amongst the top two, as we know he can do when he saw him do that course of Brands Hatch, and he was hassling Christian Szaruta all the way through. There's a really good chance where he could possibly spoil the party here and get amongst them. If he can get a good start, get amongst them early. And they were very close towards the first part of that race. Jensen and John Lang were quite close towards the beginning. But if he can do it again and get himself amongst those front row guys and be a bit quicker off the line, there's every chance he could possibly make it a three-way fight at the front and hold them up, possibly bring even more cars into the mix if he can get himself in there early doors.
We saw Ryan Hooker and Paul Donkin also having a good run through that race, so they've got extra pace there that they certainly in race trim, and they're in that fifth and sixth places on the grid, and we'll be looking forward to sort of getting back into that battle, because by the time they reached the front of the field, they didn't have Christian and David had checked out. So yep, they'll be looking to make good progress at this early stage as well, I believe.
So cars formed up on the grid. Of course, it's the grid formed by the results from race number 1. So that means Christian Szaruta will be on. There's David Rowe on pole position, of course, on the right-hand side. His driver's left. And then on driver's right, onto your left on the screen, of course, where Christian Szaruta is on the front row. It is a DPR lockout once more, but you have to watch for Jensen Hassler in that all-purple cage on the right-hand side. If he can get a good jump, he will certainly be in there too, as will John Lang and everyone else. The light's about to come up. Let's see if David Rowe can make it 2 from 2, if it can be 3 from 4 races for Christian Szaruta. If anyone else can try and spoil the party. Here come the red lights. Another 15 minutes of caterhamracer.com action all set here at Snetterton 300. Revs rise, they go out now. It's a decent start for the first few rows. It'll move out there from 9th position from Jamie Peters-Ellis, but again, nice clean getaway from everyone from the line so far. Now down towards turn 1 for the first time into Ritchie's. Rowe covers off Szaruta, and it's John Lang again gets a lightning getaway. He gets in front of Jensen Hassler, both switch corners, and that's John Lang off onto the grass, and Jensen Hassler spinning his way down the order. So there's been contact between them. There is a little bit of damage on these cars. It might be possibly damage for Jensen Hassler. But again, another driver that I talked up was going to do well, unfortunately, is come to blows on the first corner of the second race. Meanwhile, Christian Szaruta has got past David Rowe, fighting back. They're making a little bit of contact into the left-hander at Palmer. Through they go onto the short straight towards Agostini, but Christian Szaruta getting the better of David Rowe off the right-hander at Ritchie's up towards Wilson and taking the lead. But already Rowe coming back and them down towards Agostini at the hairpin. They're going side by side, Rowe looking for the undercut. And interesting here, Chris, it was Christian that got the better start from the traditionally dirtier side of the circuit. Got himself behind us. I think Matt Shepherd spinning off in the background. It was Stanley Wilson hairpin where he made the move. So Christian in front, but we saw David Rowe's pace. Has he got enough to try and get back past him again? Was Christian now, he's got clear air, going to try and pull away in front.
We missed the actual move, didn't we? But because David had it covered off from the start. He was on the inside of as he went through Coram to Richards to start with, but he's drifted behind him as we got down to Wilson. So Christian is ahead, and that will be worrying him for him, but he looks like he's close. They've already had some contact, and we also saw, as well as Hassler and John Lang, who had that contact which we saw on stream, there was also a bit of contact between a couple of the other cars behind as well. So it's all tight out there, and you can see as they all flow through Brundle, it's still tight all the way through the field.
Aggressive starts from Ryan Hooker and Paul Donkin. They managed to pick their way through some of the action just in front of them to go 3rd and 4th. It's then John Lang down to 5th, and JP Zennis, he's done it again. He's up from what was 9th place. He was 7th. He's down to 8th now as he loses a place to Mitchell Costas, but he's in the front row. He's done it again. We've gone quite well. There's a little wide through Murray's there. Now that puts him right onto his roll cage. We're on board with David Rowe. Picks up another gear down the centre straight. He's practically pushing him down the pit straight now towards as they hug the pit wall and head back down towards Ritchie's. To the right-hander, to the outside looks David Rowe. You can go round the outside of Ritchie's if you're brave enough and you've got the grip. Side by side, and Rowe goes for it round the outside line. It's side by side for 3rd place between Paul Donkin and Ryan Hooker, and Donkin tries to hold on. They are still wheel to wheel, but David Rowe's done it. He's done the outside pass. He's made it stick around the outside of Ritchie's on the long way round, and incredibly David Rowe back into the lead. That looked easy, but I can promise you, Chris, I'm sure you're about to tell me, it is anything but to make an outside. It's anything but to try and. It's one thing to try and make an outside pass at a platform like Ritchie's that's so fast and so tighter angle than you think. But it's another one to actually make it stick as much as possible. And I wonder if possibly Szaruta is playing the long game
which is not very long, there's only 12 minutes to go. But what a move that was. Szaruta fighting back already, diving up the inside into Agostini. A big dive up the inside. There is more contact between the two of them. Rowe runs wide on the exit. Szaruta will try and put himself alongside, but Rowe gets the better slingshot and Szaruta slots back in. These two DPR teammates, they might be on track, they're just another rival to each other, and they are going at it hammer and tongs on this second lap.
That was a cheeky move, wasn't it? It was absolutely opportunistic, but there wasn't really a gap there. He did sell the dummy a little bit, and David took it just slightly, but there wasn't a gap there, and I'm glad the contact that they did make didn't end this battle, because that would have been a little bit cheeky there. But David Rowe still out in front. Like you say, the move around the outside of Riches is not for the faint-hearted. It's dusty out there and easy. The track sort of pinches in on you, as we see side by side again as they're going down into Brundles here. Christian round the outside, another corner a bit like Riches, so can he hold on round the outside this time? David's currently got it covered off.
And look what it has done. Look, because Paul Donkin and Ryan Hooker, they're right in there for third and fourth, and John Lang's not far away either. So we talked about it before. If these two cars carry on battling, it's just bringing the cars behind into the mix. So these two DPR cars are not running away with it because they're so focused on battling with each other. As Christian Szaruta tries to have a look up the inside through corner, and that was probably never going to work with that contact. But now look at both Paul Donkin and Ryan Hooker. They're firmly in the mix here. It's not just a DPR duo out in front. It's now a quartet battling over the lead. Make it possibly 5 because John Lang's in there as well. They come down the pit straight, all trying to break the toe a little more. It's David who continues to lead, but it's Zaruta's turn this time to go to the outside line. Likewise, also Hooker trying to get past. Paul Donkin sets the fastest lap of the race, which immediately gets snatched by John Lang. Lap 3 down to Richie's corner, and Szaruta will go around the outside. They almost back again, side by side on the exit of the corner, and just like Rowe did a lap ago, looks like Szaruta might have held on to that, but now look behind him, you see Donkin and Hooker side by side too, but they're getting to the fight as well. Rowe back up the inside into Wilson Hairpin. He gets a little squirrely on the exit, trying to get the power down against Szaruta, and Szaruta does make it stick. Now, Rowe will try and come back at him also, but what effect, of course, can possibly Donkin and Hooker have here? Because if they can stick their nose up the inside and get amongst the two DPR guys, of course, if they do it right now, it'll lead to Zaruta's benefit, because Rowe will have to try and defend as much as he can. But Rowe's in the tricky position there. He's got one eye on Szaruta, one eye on the cars behind. He's arguing the one car in this quartet here is having the toughest time out of all of them.
And of course, Donkin and Ryan Hooker have just come from a race where they're battle hardened. They know what it's like to battle around all these corners, and Rowe and Szaruta sort of had quite quiet races, really. I know they would have been stressful getting all the consistent lap times, but they haven't had to. As Donkin's locked up and he's drifted wide, so I think we'll see Hooker. Yes, he does. Well, he's also in the rear of his car. Everyone's right on the ragged edge, aren't they, in these 310R machines around Snetterton. Great battling though, but yeah, Szaruta and David Rowe just not used to that battling just yet, although they now, with those issues for Donkin and Hooker, have got their little gap suggested again.
It's now 3.5 tenths and closing steadily because Rowe is in that slipstream region in order to try and close back in now. And because that battle's been going on between Donkin and Hooker, they've now fallen away ever so slightly by about half a second or so. Looking further back, Mitchell Costa's back in 7th place, Harwood now in 9th. And also J&P Zennis dropped back a couple of places. We last saw him, and one car off the road. I think that's possibly, who's that? That's a white car.
I think it was Peter Zennis, yeah.
Peter Zennis again. So just as I mentioned him, down in the order he goes. He already tumbled down to about 12th, but after that spin at Nelson, now puts him down to 14th. So he's got some work to do to try and pick his way back up. Now down to 15th now because Richard Gallagher has got through too. So 8.5 minutes to try and salvage something a little bit better from this race. We're riding on board now with Mitchell Costas. He's looking now at the black car with the red and green stripes. That is Chris Skillicorn. As in front, a couple of the cars running wide just as they turn into Richie's on the grass. Everyone's starting to spread out just a little bit here. David Rowe still within half a second, still within that range of a toe as they come back into Wilson once more. 8 minutes just and change on the clock. Hooker third, Donkin fourth. We see there in the dark grey Caterham. 5th place now for John Lang in the purple and blue car. There's the tracker, so you can see just about where everyone is on the circuit. Just a couple more cars towards the back, making their way to the Wilson hairpin. Of course, Chris Skillicorn running in 6th. Costa 7th. Ian Joyner has done well to get up to 8th, and Richard Harwood in 9th. Jensen Hassler, after his spin at turn 1 after making contact with John Lang, he is now down back up to 10th position, trying to fight hard to get his way back closer. He won't get into a top 5 position, I don't think, but he'll certainly be quite deep. I think his target could be as high as someone maybe like Ian Joyner if he can keep going quite quickly. Just turning his way through Agostini hairpin now. But what's intriguing here is that Christian Szaruta is he's not holding David Rowe up because he's just keeping David Rowe on his tail, and what it's also doing is giving Ryan Hooker an incentive to keep going quick, because if he can keep on to David Rowe's tail, and if Rowe keeps on closing on Szaruta, who immediately knows that he's under threat in the slipstream once again,
There's every chance we can take this duo back to a trio, a quartet, or even a quintet between these guys if they all start closing up in the closing stage. Only 7 minutes to go. It's not long left before the checkered flag.
Now, and you can see on the tracker that nearly everyone is on that long back straight, all still together. It is still a very compressed race, given that we are nearly 10 minutes in it already. So, yeah, everyone doing a great job, even with some of the issues that we've seen. But interestingly, David was able to move it to over a second gap out front and then hold it with Christian outside of that, whereas he has managed to actually stick in the toe. And I wonder whether he's just waiting for those clocks to tick down just a little bit more and give himself a bit more of a safety margin from the attack from behind, which is now led by Ryan Hooker ahead of Paul Duncan.
I think he's a really strong place to possibly have a go because he's inside 0.4 of a second behind teammate Christian Szaruta. Down the pit straight they go. They favour that line where they hug the pit wall to get the shortest possible run down the straight. And Szaruta again moves back to the racing line on the left-hand side, and they pitch their way through Richie's corner where they both try to pass each other on the outside and succeeded. And the toe has certainly helped Rowe quite a lot. And Szaruta again not comfortable with the racing line. He has to go defensive all the way to the right-hand side of the circuit. This will compromise his run. Rowe trying to go around the outside at Wilson Corner. That was possibly never going to work. If he was a little further alongside on the X and got the power down a little bit quicker, it might well have come off. But Rowe just certainly trying to show his hand here and shows Szaruta that he's not going to be intimidated, and also that he's not going away anytime soon. And of course, we've got to be careful and keep an eye on 3rd, 4th, and 5th because Ryan Hooker, Paul Donkin, and John Lang can all get themselves into the mix. And also watch for Skithercorn and Costas. They're not too far away either. So could have as much as a 7-car train in this lead group if the race plays out that way. 5.5 minutes left to go here in this second race at Snetterton, the second evening of racing for Season 8 of caterhamracer.com. Christian Szaruta already has 2 wins to his name so far this season, going for a 3rd after his double at Brands Hatch. David Rowe, off the back of a tricky opening weekend of Season 8, has managed to kick back with the best possible fashion of a win in race 1. He's still on the hunt here for the win in race 2, only 0.4 off behind his teammate. They head back onto the back straight with 5 minutes to go in this race. 2/3 gone. There's a third of it left to go.
Yeah, David definitely looks like he's the one threatening all the time, doesn't he? The outside line into Wilson, that first hairpin we saw a little while back, can work, but it generally only works if there's a third car involved and the car in front of you therefore gets a little bit blocked. But it didn't work for him that time, but it just makes sure that Christian's on his toes all the time, moving him off the ideal racing line that he'd want to be on, and therefore becomes a nuisance and maybe causes distraction. But they do look like they've broken the toe from Ryan Hooker behind at this stage.
Brilliant stuff. He's very, very close. You can see the gap is less than a tenth of a second now, so he's all over the back of the roll cage here as they turn back to Murray's, and a little wide there through the apex of Murray's there for Szaruta. So this will really give the rather chance he needs. His tail is firmly up here as Szaruta goes back up through the gears. We're on board with David Rowe. He has to go for a move here, surely, with about 4.25 minutes to go. Darts to the outside line. He's gone down the outside before through Richie's corner. He can make it work if he's got the grip. They're always touching wheels again into the right-hander. Rowe tries to sweep back around the outside again, but Szaruta fights back. They're still side by side. He squeezes him out towards the curb, and Rowe will try again down the outside line. He can't do anything about track position, but he can try and take the long way around, or even get the undercut on the exit if he's got enough pace to try and do so.
Yeah,
look at that, just be a little bit closer in third place.
Yeah, great demonstration of the kind of twos and fros of when the outside of one corner leads to the inside of the other, and really both manoeuvring each other, and David holding and pinching Christian as he had the momentum over the top of him in a couple of places. So using, again, all the tricks in the books, but Christian is holding on so far and resisting that pressure.
Back down the outside into Agostini. Ryan Hooker giving a watching brief, and again Rowe likes that outside line, but Szaruta has got better drive off the corner to try and make it happen. I can see what Rowe's trying to do. He's trying to either put himself alongside just to remind Christian, look, you might see me in mirrors, but you're going to keep on pushing until you make a mistake. Let's say that David Rowe runs. Well, what do I know? But into the complex at Oggies they go, and Hooker is right there now. You can see he's just underneath him. Less than half a second now. He's in slipstream range. This could be intriguing now. Ryan Hooker, we said this, if any of the three cars behind these top two start to take full advantage of these two battling, there is every chance he can get into the mix. Now what's intriguing here, Szaruta is just outside, agonising outside that half a second range to get a toe, and look who's benefiting now. Ryan Hooker's inside that half a second, and he's getting closer now. So this is really interesting stuff here as they turn in through Brundle and Nelson. There was only 2.5 minutes to go and change. They turn up through Brundle and Nelson. Ryan Hooker in the toe now as we see David Rowe's got himself back underneath, or briefly at least, half a second. But I wonder, on that last lap, was that possibly his best chance gone? Now that he's outside the toe, and now he's under threat from Ryan Hooker, because rather than attacking, he's now going to go from being the hunter to the hunted, because he's under threat from Hooker into the complex, and possibly, Chris, I think David's second place could be under threat here if he's not careful defending from Ryan here. He's too focused on trying to get past Christian.
He went all in on that last lap, didn't he? And it's cost him. He has now the thing he didn't want to happen was Ryan Hooker to become he have to drive in his mirrors to defend from him, and that's exactly where he is now. He is further behind Christian than Ryan is from behind him. Ryan is absolutely an opportunistic driver. He will make himself a nuisance. You can see he's already positioning to the outside, like we saw David Rowe doing last time. Again, pushing David off that line, and this might well give Christian the gap he needs. Ryan Hooker doing a little tuck back there to just get the flow off of this corner, so he will be right back on his tail as they go down towards Agostini.
He's got to try and get himself that little bit close to get back into half a second. If he can use a little bit of the tiny bit of the gap that he's got, that might give him a little bit of clear air to pull those 3/10 back if he can in the next roughly, which must be the last lap I think now, with about a minute and 20 to go. So if it is the last lap, he's not got very much longer to try and make this happen here as they turn out through the hairpin at Agostini again. Gap has come down ever slightly by another tenth or so, so David Rowe is pushing as hard as he dares through the left-hander at Hamilton. Back towards Oggy. Szaruta, a little wide on the exit, but again, just not enough for Rowe to take full advantage there. A little twitch of oversteer as he tried to get the power down for David, so less than a minute to go. I think this might be the last lap of the race. If not, we might just, unless we did in race 1, squeeze possibly one more lap in if we're quick enough. So we'll see now. 45 seconds on the clock. Down the back straight they go, potentially for the last time. Hooker in 3rd place. Paul Donkins 2 seconds back in 4th. And then we've got John Lang in 5th position, Chris Skithercorn 6th, Harwood 7th, Mitchell Costas is 8th. Ditson Haas has carved another spot back up to 9th, and Paul Fernerhoff rounding up the top 10 currently. There is now 22 seconds on the clock, and the leaders now coming up towards... I think this might be the last lap, in fact, because I don't think they're going to get to the flag in time. They came out the final corner with 14 seconds left to go, so I think this will be the last time as they come up to it. 10 seconds to go. Will be the checker flag this time by. David Rowe tried to press for the double, but he couldn't quite make it stick. When he tried to attack, he couldn't quite make it count. And even though he's trying to defend, I think it's either weaving a celebration or weaving to try and break the toe. Either way, checker flag comes out. It is 3 wins from 4 races for Christian Szaruta in a fantastic battle with his teammate all race long. David Rowe has to settle up a 2nd place with good strong points, get himself back up the order and take advantage of those that are not here. Ryan Hooker looked just about in shout for a 2nd place, but had to set up a 3rd. He'll be delighted with that, I'm sure. Then Paul Donkin in 4th, followed by John Lang in 5th position, Chris Skithercorn in 6th, Richard Harwood in 7th, and Mitchell Costas, Jensen Hassler and Paul Fernerhoff rounding up the top 10. The rest of the pack comes through to complete race 2. Alan Curtis 11th. It's Gallagher, Joyner, JP Dennis will have hoped for more, but he made a couple of mistakes and got caught up in 1 or 2 incidents, which sent him down to 14th. It's Adam Whitehouse 15th. It's Dalton 16th after his early incident. And then Anthony Hamilton and Matt Shepherd after his lap 1 spin comes home in 18th place. And so again, recap of the results. It is a 3rd win from 4 races for Christian Szaruta, but it could have been possibly 2 from 2 again for David Rowe, as it was for Christian in race 1. In the first weekend at Brands Hatch. So Christian wins then by just over half a second from David Rowe. I'm sure Ryan Hooker will be absolutely thrilled with a 3rd place, but it could have been slightly more had he been able to make a move and make it stick. Paul Donkin picks up an excellent 7th on his Group A return, followed by John Lang in 5th, Chris Skithercorn 6th, then Richard Harwood, Mitchell Costas, Jensen Hassler fighting back after his lap 1 spin. Well, after contact with Lang, he's back up to 9th, and Paul Fernerhoff rounds out the top 10. Salvaging a decent result from what's been a slightly tougher evening of racing. Alan Curtis 11th, from Richard Gallagher in 12th, then Ian Joyner, Jamie Peter-Dennis down to 14th, whereas Adam Whitehouse, Keith Dalton, Anthony Hamilton and Matt Shepherd. So Chris, that was definitely a night where, again, most of DPR dominance as it was mostly at Brands Hatch between the 2 front runners, Christian and David. They got into their own battles. It was pretty evenly matched all evening long. And while in race 1 it was 2 relatively different stories, where it was David Rowe who had the pace to keep Christian Szaruta at bay in race 1, David Rowe definitely also had the pace to keep Christian Szaruta honest and under threat in the 2nd race. But in the end, it was the missed opportunity from David in that 2nd race to try and make that move when he went down the outside more than once, that ultimately led to him coming under threat from Ryan Hooker and missing out on the victory by half a second. So one has to wonder if he hadn't got so caught up in that and made one of those moves properly stick, it would have been quite a different result we were talking about.
I think he had to go for it at that point. He definitely had more pace than Christian tonight, which is unexpected. But well, not unexpected. That's unfair. But from the last time out, Christian ran away with both the victories, didn't he? But yeah, they kind of had a comfortable time in that first race. David showing a clean pair of heels, but in that second race, definitely didn't have it all their own way. And the battle for third place has definitely been the story tonight. And Ryan Hooker coming through from what I think was about 9th place in qualifying to get a good result in race 1 and then a 3rd place on the podium for race 2. So he'll be, like you say, I'm pretty sure he'll be happy with that. And yeah, Paul Donkin, again, another person coming through that field, surviving some battles and getting 2 strong results out of it. So yeah, good for him too.
So excellent stuff and excellent points for everyone else. I'm sure there'll be plenty of drivers who want to relay how their evening was. I'm sure, of course, including the 2 drivers who dominated the top positions all evening, and they're usually quite entertaining to talk to you anyway in any context. So, Chris, time for you to at least talk to a group of drivers who I'm sure you recognise more than Martin Brundle recognised most of the people on the Miami grid this evening, this weekend. And have a chat to our top few drivers. Sorry, Martin, I had to jump that in. That was quite a memorable good walk in many cases, but we certainly recognise the drivers here. So, Chris, off you go once again to have a chat to some of our top drivers, and starting, I believe, with who have we got first of all? With Ryan Hook, who took a very strong 3rd. So, Chris, off you go.
Unfortunately, Hassel has left the server, so I can't get him on. But I don't know whether, Ryan, you have voice comms. Have you got us in the commentary box?
Good evening, lads. Yeah, I was just picking the other guys. How to get into this bit, but you automatically bring us in, so it's good to know. Yeah,
we shove the microphone right under your nose and off we go. Yeah, we started with you. You got that 3rd place, and from a qualifying which I'm guessing didn't go quite as well as you'd wanted it to. What a recovery back through the field.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. It was going to be tight if I made it home. I've been working at Snet myself today, so I walked in the door at sort of 8:10, and a little bit of practice that we managed to get in tonight was that. But yeah, it was so close. I was on for a good lap at the end to maybe put us 3rd. Wasn't going to get near the top 2. But yeah, it's just fantastic racing and pleasing to get a couple of good results.
Yeah, so close at the end there, and like you say, you're going all over the country at the moment with your instruction. Is there, how do people get in contact with you if they're looking for that instruction?
Yes, if they just go via the website and drop us an email through there, we'll obviously get back to them ASAP and then see if we can put anything together for them. But yeah, if they can't quite afford a day on their own, lots of customers like to share. So anything's available and anything possible for anybody.
Congratulations tonight. Thank you for your sponsorship, and we will see you at the next one.
Thanks very much.
Okie dokie. And let's also we've got to take the top 2 there. So let me grab
naturally.
Let me grab row first of all. David, have you got us in the commentary box?
Hello there, Cheesy.
So definitely had the pace tonight. Clean sweep of the race 1 and the quali. You got the pole position, but that second race you just let him get ahead and you just all in at that last move, but it didn't come off.
Yeah, it's Christian. He's a wily old fox, as we say. Every race we always say how wily he is. But yeah, no, I couldn't quite make anything stick, and he upped the pace a little bit in race 2, and then Ryan came along to join us, and then I got a bit of a bad gear change, which allowed him to gap. But nonetheless, I'm sure it looked pretty good on the stream. It was good fun from where I was sitting.
Yeah, it was great to see, and like I say, it was a good return to form after a bit of a rocky road at Brands Hatch to have the ultimate pace there, and really in many respects you were quicker than Christian. You managed to hold him off the whole of that first race, and second race you were the one putting the pressure on.
Yeah, I didn't know really what happened. I mean, usually I go out in front and I think, oh, Christian's going to catch up quite easily, and then suddenly I was driving a little bit better than normal and managed to stay ahead. So yeah, good race.
I guess that's the trick for you then. Need to get out in front and show them a clean pair of heels. So we look forward to seeing more of that next time out.
Excellent, good stuff. Cheers, guys. Thanks a lot.
Alrighty, and let's get Christian Szaruta, the Snizzle. Hello, have you got us in the commentary box?
Yes.
Well, I was just saying to Dave, and you can disagree with you if you want, but he seemed to have the ultimate pace in the qualifying and race trim tonight. But you somehow still managed to sneak that win.
Yeah, I just couldn't get it together for the qualifying in the first race, but obviously authority needed to be reapplied fairly in the second, which I think was done with fair gusto.
It's, I mean, it certainly looked intense. I think the Agostini dive, I can't remember if that was in the first race or the second one, where the dive bomb up the inside was pretty optimistic, but it came off in the end. It certainly didn't result in contact, which is good.
Well, he's got a habit of leaving the door open, doesn't he, old Dave? So it looked just too inviting to say no to. So.
Well, the gap certainly disappeared as soon as you started to put your car into it. So it was.
Yeah, I was hoping he might get nibbled from behind and get punted off or something, but he just kind of hung on there, didn't he? Annoyingly.
Still, 3 wins out of 4 is a pretty good start to the proceedings. So.
Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? Really.
What blotted your coffee, Vic? Yeah. But we look forward to more of the same, I'm sure, next time out, and I'm sure you'll be showing all this pace again.
Indeed. Thanks very much, and hi, Mum.
Speak to you soon. Bye.
Thanks, mate.
There you go. What a good evening's racing. I think really Snetterton in the virtual world giving us good action, and I'm sure it will also give us excellent action in the official Caterham Motorsport race that we got there on the 21st and 22nd of May.
Yes, indeed. And as we both know, in the real world with Caterhams, this is a circuit which is almost built for Caterham racing in many cases, inadvertently, because the long straights certainly do give lots of slipstreaming opportunities, lots of overtaking opportunities, and always an opportunity for the good old photo finish or two, which we saw a couple of at Brands Hatch, and that was quite something as well. I think there was one finish, I think I remember correctly, Chris, where it was almost practically impossible to separate them in terms of I think we literally had practically a dead heat, didn't we? In one race,
they did give them a dead heat. We had an absolute dead heat, which is the first I've ever seen in Caterham Motorsport. But a subsequent technical infringement, unfortunately, the car, because it lost so many parts, was underweight. So it meant that actually it was separated via a technical infringement. But nevertheless, yeah, the first dead heat that I remember. But Snetterton, like you say, always brings great results. 21st, 22nd of May, if you want to join us, actually at track at Snetterton. And then it's not too long then beyond there before we get to Silverstone GP for what is going to be a brilliant challenge for all our drivers.
It was great last year despite the mixed weather conditions, and of course on top of that then you've got Donington Park, where I've never seen a bad Caterham race at Donington, so that's definitely one to watch out for. Anglesey, a weekend of racing by the coast, who doesn't love that, especially in the summertime, and then 2 excellent circuits to round things off. The Knock Hill Super Header, and that sort of 2 arrows means probably what you think it means, which is yes, there will be 1 day of racing in the regular clockwise direction. Then the next day they'll be racing in the anti-clockwise direction. And for those wondering, yes, Knock Hill is, I think, the only circuit, if I'm correct, in the UK which is licensed to run in both directions. So they will run 1 day in one direction, 1 day in the other direction. And then as you see, Spa-Francorchamps is one of the 2 venues for what is being dubbed a super finale weekend for Caterham, because there'll be one set of Caterham champions racing in Belgium, the other one racing on the international circuit, Silverstone, so a return to the home of British Motorsport, and that will finish off a 2022 Caterham Motorsport calendar. But as Chris said, the real life action at Snetterton will be next weekend, 21st, 22nd of May. All 5 championships are out because it's the first races ever after their beginning of their racing careers at the Kerber Sprint tradition of this year's Caterham Academy drivers. So both green and white groups will be out for their very first circuit races ever. And then we'll have, of course, on top of that, the next rounds of racing from the Road Sport Championship for the 270Rs, the 310Rs, and the 7 UK Championship. They will all be out in action. And, of course, once again, Chris, it'll all be live streamed for those Caterham races. And once more, I imagine, it'll be your good self on commentary once again. I'm sure you're looking forward to that very much after your Brands Hatch debut.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can't join us live on at the circuit, then we've got the next best thing, which is that we will be streaming all those races live on YouTube. So make sure you search for Caterham Motorsport across all the normal channels. As for us, the next time that we're going to be out is at Silverstone Grand Prix. So that will be on the 7th of June. Please do subscribe to all our channels and follow us on all our socials to make sure you get the notification of when we're going to be racing next. And if you want to join us racing, then go to caterhamracer.com. You'll find all the information about how you can get involved.
Indeed. And once again, a big thanks to Chris and to everyone that's been racing here tonight. As we sign off, of course, we couldn't do it without those who partner us. So to sign off here from Snetterton, Thank you very much for watching, and just a reminder, of course, that the caterhamracer.com Season 8 Championship is sponsored by just Add Lightness, first for Caterham LED lights and in-car communications, by Design Display Structures, immerse yourself in worlds beyond with bespoke projection screens, by DPR Motorsport, your competitive advantage, and by one-to-one on-track coaching and simulator training from one of our podium finishers tonight, Ryan Hooker, and then also additional support coming in from Darren, Burke, performance driver coach, and FPZero Simulators. So, for myself, Scott Woodwiss, Chris Hutchinson, and Woodwiss Racing at caterhamracer.com, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time for more action. It's going to be the next round of the championship on the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. Don't miss it. It'll be in the full spec 420R race cars, and that I'm certain will be 2 more 15-minute races. It'll be an absolute blast. But until then, enjoy the action next weekend at Snetterton. And until next time, it's goodbye.
Bye-bye.